Well, welcome, Jay. Glad to have you here. I wanted
Yep.
to hear some more from you about the album that's coming out and what's the story behind it.
Yeah, yeah. Great. Yeah. So really, Endure Studios is the name of my studio that I have as a songwriter producer here in Los Angeles. And that's what I do. All of the music that I do under that name, Endure Studio. So that's just working with the local artists I work with here in Los Angeles, as well as the umbrella for any international projects. So what I wanted to do with these international projects, I call them global albums, is I want to go to different regions of the world that have been destabilized through conflict, or through persecution or unrest or crises,
Mhm.
and actually record albums with people that have been affected by that war, by that conflict, and
Mhm.
by that crisis. And the real goal there is when we hear about things that happen around the world, we usually hear about it in the context of a news story, but we don't hear necessarily the human experience side. And
Mhm.
that's where I think media comes in and is such a powerful tool. Really, you think about music and film, the power that those things have to actually show the reality of something that's happening on the ground, and in a different way. Because what it's like to know the statistics of how many Syrian refugees, for instance, have had to flee Syria over the last decade, with that war. You hear numbers, but you don't know what it's like for one particular teenage girl who
Mhm.
the building next door to her was bombed, and she fled, and someone in her family was lost in the course of the bombing, and then she finds a way to get to Lebanon, and then they start to try to establish a life, and then they start to figure out how to get a job in a foreign
Mhm.
country that has so many refugees. So my goal is not to capture sort of a macro. My job is not to be a journalist. It's not to
Mhm.
capture sort of the macro story of everything that's happened in the region, but I want to work with individuals that have come through conflict, come through war, come through crises, and work on writing songs with them that can actually show just the human side of who they are and what they've experienced, and then use music as a platform for them to be able to use their voice and have a platform to actually voice their story and voice their creativity in their art, and also have that be a way that the rest of the world can understand a little bit more about that particular issue
Mhm.
in a way that's not news or statistics oriented.
Mhm. That's great.
And so I had gotten to know some Syrian refugees, and I'd gotten really to know the issue of the Syrian refugee crisis. And so I had the idea to go back and have really my first kind of pilot project of these global albums be with Syrian refugees in Lebanon. Had a couple contacts in Beirut, Lebanon,
Mhm.
and they connected me with some people in the refugee community they knew that sing, and that's about all I had to
Wow.
go on to start with. But then it snowballed from there, and I found a really neat community of Syrian refugees that have kind of formed this Kurdish community within Beirut, and I started recording songs, or started writing songs with them there, and started recording them on the spot with a little mobile recording studio I brought,
Mhm.
and then fast forward a year and yeah, a year and a half, and we just released a record with it, which is at the end of the day, it's 24 tracks, which is insane. And I released it in three pieces. I essentially broke it into three chapters, which we released in little EPs: chapter one, chapter two, chapter three, and then we just put out the full album, which is the full 24 track record with all of the songs from chapter one, two, and three, plus four bonus tracks. All right. Well, thank you, Kurt.
Yeah, thanks, man. It's great to hear from you.
All right.